Our next speaker has been a regular. I think he's been to this conference since the early 2000s or maybe even before that. He was making Brown's gas back before anybody knew it had any kind of health benefit. In fact, it wasn't him but his clients who discovered that Brown's gas can be used as a health benefit. And now that's all he ever talks about. It's exciting stuff. It's still exciting. And it's still, most of the world has no idea what Brown's gas is all about. But we're going to find out a little bit more about it from our next speaker, the one and only George Wiseman.
Thank you. Okay.
Hey, cowboy.
Hey, John. It's good to see you all. I love traveling down here and meeting you in this particular venue because unlike just doing something online, I get to speak and meet with the people that are actually doing stuff out there. Okay, to get right into the presentation because there's a lot to go through. Now, there's going to be a PDF available of this talk. So anybody who's seeing it online, for example, or anyone that's here, can email me at that contact information right there and get all the slides. So quickly, the medical disclaimer. All the statements that I make aren't approved by any of the three-letter organizations or any medical organization or pharmaceutical company. Lots of reasons for that. The crowd that's listening to this already knows all of that. But I have to say the fine print anyway, so again, you'll get the slide, you can read all the fine print. Essentially, don't go against the narrative unless you're taking responsibility for yourself. Okay, originally I'd started with Brown's gas as a fuel-saving technology. I'd heard about it, and I wanted it in my own shop because of the water, what I call a water torch, where you could replace acetylene with Brown's gas to do all the welding and brazing and steel cutting that you could do normally with acetylene. And it turns out you can do that at about 2% of the cost and a higher quality everything. Except the welding, you had to add something, a mitigating agent like alcohol, or it would oxidize the weld. But welding wasn't good with gas anyway. Generally, you use an arc technique. So everything else that you could do with acetylene, the Brown's gas could do it better and at a lot lower cost. The equipment cost a lot more, but the gas itself didn't. There's my water torch technology. And the interesting thing about my water torch technology is that people started bubbling it in water and using it to do things like enhance the growth of plants, which I found to be interesting. And then other people ended up using it in water and like fish, enhancing the growth of fish. So if you were growing fish for any purpose, they grow at about 3 times faster if you have the Brown's gas bubbling in the water instead of just regular oxygen bubbling in the water. They wouldn't grow bigger, they just grow faster. So, but then people started using it on themselves. They're using a torch fuel gas, bubbling it in water and using it for health purposes. And I didn't believe what I heard when that started to happen. In 1996, a water torch customer told me of healing a melanoma on his forehead. And what he had done is he used Brown's gas from a water torch, soaked the dressing several times a day, and in 3 weeks' time, his melanoma was gone. That's what he told me. I didn't believe him. But I told my customers about this, and I also configured this, what I call the ER50, because it made 50 liters an hour of Brown's gas, to help people inexpensively bubbling the water instead of spending between $3,000 and $8,000 on a water torch. So then the testimonials started to come in. And by 2005, remember this was 1996, okay? So it took 9 years for them to convince me to bubble the Brown's gas in water and drink it myself. 9 years. I'm not very open-minded. So by 2007, I was convinced it was safe and effective and therapeutically effective, to use modern terminology, safe and effective, right? So I personally started recommending the bubbled water for health. And you can look on my AquaCure.life website about me to see the history. I'll tell you a little bit more about the history, in fact, as well. But I didn't get sick and haven't been sick since 2007. when I started drinking the bubbled water. So people started asking me after 2007 when I said, okay, you can drink the bubbled water, they asked me if you could inhale the gas. And I'm thinking, some of the loudest explosions I've ever heard were the Brown's gas explosions. And I have a certification in blowing mountains apart. I used to work in a mine and in blasting. And I'm telling you, I didn't want to put an explosive gas in my lungs, and I didn't want to recommend to anybody to do it But in December of 2015, a customer sent me a video of a Korean hydrogen bar, and there's the link there, that they were using Brown's gas, inhaling it, and I realized I was wrong. Okay, this is the old slap forehead. I should know better. I'm a combustion expert. Keep the Brown's gas, the amount of hydrogen in the inhaled mixture under 4%, which is the lower combustible limit of the gas, is non-explosive, and you can inhale it. It's safe as long as you don't have a certain amount more of hydrogen in the gas. And I should have known that. I did know that. As soon as I realized it, I realized I'd been misinforming these people all that particular time. But at that particular time, my late wife was very sick. Her organs were failing. I was her 24/7 caretaker. And in March of 2016, she died. And I didn't care if I lived or died, so I thought I'd set up an ER50 that was sitting beside me to inhale the gas. There's a YouTube video there, because just in case something happened, I wanted a video recording of my idiocy. So I video recorded myself, and on my YouTube channel, you can see that video as I inhaled the gas the first time. And if you look at that video, you can see what I looked like then. And now you can see what I look like now, from 2016 till now. So 8 years later, I look younger now than I did then. Still no hair. But my hair isn't white anymore, it's gray, as you can see from the video there. Okay, so the results were unexpected and astonished me because I wasn't inhaling it thinking I was going to get any health benefits. I was inhaling it simply to prove that it was safe to inhale, because I try things on myself first before I recommend them to my customers. I've done that from the time I was developing fuel savers, through the water torch, and even now in the health purposes. So I apologize to all the people that I misinformed during that essentially 10 years' time. So Brown's gas is safe to inhale if you keep the mixture under 4% lower combustible limit. So then I told people how to reconfigure those ER50s so they could safely inhale the gas, and then the testimonials really started to pour in. It turns out that Brown's gas can pretty much either directly or indirectly mitigate virtually every ailment known to man. These are the kind of testimonials that I'm seeing. You'll see some more as we proceed here. But one particular testimonial almost killed me, because a woman had her lupus symptoms gone in 3 weeks. And lupus is what my late wife died of. We'd battled that disease for, it's got to be about 10 years. And I watched her slowly fade away and her organs fail. And this woman had her lupus symptoms gone in 3 weeks. I had the technology to help my late wife since, well, 1986, actually, when I started to experiment with Brown's gas. But 1996, God had told me directly that it was for health purposes. And all those years, I had it in my own shop. That was tough. So, because she was, I wanted to make sure that that I could help other people not go through all the pain and suffering and debt that we went through. We were over $300,000 in debt because we spent everything we had and mortgaged our house just trying to get her well, get her better. So the instant I read that testimonial, I realized that I'd been told all of those years that I had the answer. And the only way that I could then get up off the floor and justify my continued existence was to dedicate my life to helping every one of you, everyone that's seeing me here in person, everyone who sees this video, not go through that physical, emotional, and financial suffering that we did. Because without health, you have nothing. Doesn't matter how much money or anything else that you have. So I'm passionate to help you, and as I have proceeded in this mission, the interesting thing is God has provided every single thing I've needed to overcome every challenge that I've faced. But I've also discovered that health is not for everyone. There are people who will not respond to this message, but that's okay, because God gave everyone free will, and not everybody is ready. So now we'll go over some basics of hydrogen for health. And then we'll review what is Brown's gas quickly, because most of you already know, and there's lots of places out on the internet, although there is some misinformations on the internet that we'll highlight as well. And then we'll focus on why Brown's gas is better than pure hydrogen. Pure hydrogen is good. I'm not saying anything about bad about pure hydrogen. It's just not optimal. You can do better. So people are mostly water, and that means we're mostly oxygen by weight. But hydrogen, there's 2 hydrogen atoms for every oxygen, and because we're mostly water, and that means we're mostly hydrogen by volume, because every molecule, every atom of hydrogen takes up the same space as every other atom. So they say we're carbon-based life forms, but that is incorrect. You could say we're water-based, but no, we're actually hydrogen-based, because we're 62% hydrogen by volume, 24% oxygen, 12% carbon, and 2% everything else. So we're water-based life forms, which actually is mostly hydrogen. Hydrogen is part of virtually every chemical process in the body. Even our DNA is built around it. The spine of DNA is water. And everyone knows if we don't get enough oxygen, we're dead in minutes. Without water, we're dead in 3 to 4 days. However, our most important macronutrient is hydrogen. 75% of the universe is made of hydrogen. I think of it as the atom closest to God. It seems to spontaneously appear and disappear in space even. But how do we get our hydrogen? You can't inhale it like air. It isn't free in nature. And even in our bodies are designed to hold it as tightly as possible, because as soon as it's released, it just goes to God. It just rises in the atmosphere. So we get it usually from our food. The bacteria in our guts, actually we masticate our food, we throw in some enzymes, we drop it into an acid bath, and small intestine, throw in some bile and such, and then the bacteria start working on it, microorganisms. And just before the food is ejected from us in the large intestine, in the colon, there's specialized bacteria that are supposed to be there that end up breaking the pre-processed food, because the hydrogen bonds are hydrogen-carbon bonds are very strong. And so you need all those catalysts and enzymes and stuff to weaken the bond and make it possible for those bacteria to break it apart. And then the hydrogen goes into your bloodstream directly through your colon. Unfortunately, we've decimated those particular bacteria, because antibiotics, for example, modern medical miracle, have saved millions and millions of lives. I've had antibiotics myself, most everyone has. Kills the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria. So we've become deficient in our microorganisms that help us get this macronutrient that we need. So people are sick, aging, and dying because there isn't enough hydrogen. And when there isn't enough hydrogen, the body starts shutting down what I call extraneous systems. So the regeneration system shuts down, like your stem cells and such. Then if you still don't have enough hydrogen, your immune systems start to shut down, you get sick easier, and finally your organs start to fail, and then you'll die. So our bodies need hydrogen. Virtually all ailments are caused or exacerbated by lack of hydrogen. So people are sick, aging, and dying mostly from dehydration. We've killed the bacteria, now we're hydrogen deficient. So Brown's gas, which is one form of hydrogen supplementation, actually helps the body heal because it gives nutrition that the body needs instead of mitigating symptoms like drugs do. We don't want to mitigate symptoms, we want to actually cure the ailment. So people using Brown's gas generally heal quickly, seldom get sick, and often regain and retain a youthful appearance and vigor. Of course, this is all part of those 3-letter things, disclaimer stuff, right? That's talked about before. So the pH myth. Now we'll get into some of the misinformation out there. Since the 1930s, we were taught that high pH or alkaline water is healthful. And in the way they were doing it, it is. And I give lots of links to that sort of thing. But the misinformation was promoted by flow-through electrolyzers, what I call flow-through electrolyzers, or they call ionizers, which had split the water into a high pH stream and a low pH stream. And it had health benefits, but not because of the pH. In 2007, an experiment was run that therapeutically checked the pH versus hydrogen. And they discovered that the alkaline stream, which contains the hydrogen, like the acid stream contains the oxygen from the electrolysis process that's splitting the water. And when they kept the pH and neutralized the hydrogen, the health benefits disappeared. But when they neutralized the pH and left in the hydrogen, the health benefits were maintained. It had absolutely nothing to do with the pH. It was always about the hydrogen. So the pH of water has little to do with health. The pH of your body is maintained by bioavailable mineral reserves that act as a buffer. When you're measuring the pH of your urine, for example, you're measuring the pH of what your body has ejected, not of the pH that's actually in your blood. So further references, I'll just put them up on the screen fairly quickly here, and people that get the PDF can look at them. So for 40 years, the ionizer companies mistakenly promoted the high pH or alkaline water for health. In 2007, it was proven that the hydrogen was the healthful benefit, and since then, a huge amount of research has gone into hydrogen for health. And they finally also know why the healing waters of various places in the earth are healthful. So, for example, the Lord's water there, the blue at the bottom in that screen. I want to point out that doctors can't cure anything. The best they can do is help the body get what it needs to heal itself. The bodies heal themselves. Doctors mitigate symptoms because curing disease is not profitable. There was actually a study done on that. When doctors go on strike, patient deaths are reduced. The yearly death from prescription drugs is over 500,000 people, plus millions of side effect industries. And if you look at this particular chart that was done in the just before the COVID time, the doctors were the third leading cause of death, cancer and heart disease being ahead of them. It's very interesting that after the COVID, the side effects of that particular so-called vaccine was cancer and cardiovascular issues. So, in my opinion, doctors have now become the leading cause of death. So I'm not saying not to listen to your doctor. If I have a broken bone, I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm not saying but I am saying don't take a doctor's word for it, because there are things that the doctors don't know. And they were trained a certain way by the pharmaceutical companies, which would sponsor their education and have all the, and that's just the way it is. That's the world we live in these days. There are doctors who pay attention, but they are viciously suppressed when they speak up about what they've discovered. So I can't claim with the AquaCure or the Brown's gas any kind of thing because of legalities, any kind of healing. But what I do is offer a 1-year satisfaction guarantee on all the Brown's gas for health that we have, like the AquaCure AC50. That way, people can try it for themselves, their money is safe, they can return it. My returns are for not being able to do what they expected to do are less than 1 in 1,000. So now there's over 2,000 scientific studies showing that hydrogen helps the body heal from virtually every ailment with no negative side effects. Hydrogen supplementation is like magic for helping body heals. But we've discovered that while pure hydrogen is good, it's limited in its healing power. My personal experience, when I started drinking Brown's gas bubbled water in 2005, I stopped getting sick in the winter. I started inhaling Brown's gas in March of 2016, and a lot of things, but that's all that happened up until I started inhaling, excuse me. All these other things started to happen after I started inhaling. So I was just drinking the water, I didn't get sick. The psoriasis on my elbows, knees, and feet peeled off which is like a snake skin peeling off when it sheds its skin. It was very disconcerting, but it was baby smooth skin underneath. And that was happening within 3 weeks. My libido increased, and that actually saved my life. Because I can tell you that my late wife had just recently died, and I didn't care whether I lived or died. But I can tell you that when you want to have sex, you care whether you live or die. So an interesting thing that I noticed was that muscles hardened, and I had more endurance and balance even though I was not exercising. And the arthritis in my hands completely disappeared. That took about 3 months. My neuropathies, I had lost the feeling from my knees to my feet, in the fronts of my legs, the shins, and the palm of my left hand. I'd get a burning sensation, and then it'd go numb, and a burning sensation like a rainbow, and it'd go numb. And all those things are fully restored. And that was showing that my nerves were being restored. And I also had hand warts and a plantar's wart, and those were gone. I'd had those since childhood. Those are a virus. So it showed that my immune system turned back on enough that it could get rid of viruses that have been in my body for decades. My eyesight improved to the point where I don't need glasses anymore, except for I do use reading glasses. And I have some night vision things that help me when I'm driving at night. But other than that, I'm just fine without them anymore. My heart murmur, which I had from a child, which was my organs, okay, my organs healed. My grandfather died of a bad heart valve, which was the heart murmur thing, so it was kind of genetic in and to have that heal was pretty amazing. So tinnitus, I still get a bit of a hissing if I'm under stress, but it was bad enough that I could hardly hear people speak. And now it's mostly gone. Sweet, blessed silence, I'm telling you. My scars have all but one disappeared on my body, and it's interesting that they disappeared in reverse order to when they got hurt. So the ones that I got hurt most recent disappeared first, and then the one that I had on my back that was from a childhood injury when I was practically an infant still hasn't disappeared, but all my other scars are gone. My hair, which was white and bald on top, is coming back. The hairs actually were gone down to here, and it's now coming back quite a bit. Thickening and darkening, and that's still ongoing. And I now look and feel better than I did 20 years ago. My biological age has reversed. So the body needs 3 things to heal. It needs intelligence, nutrition, and energy. This is very important, 3 things. Hydrogen alone as nutrition isn't enough. You need energy as well. Most people inhaling Brown's gas report an increased energy, alertness, strength, and balance. And I haven't heard of anyone on pure hydrogen reporting a loss of warts or a loss of scars. So this is indications why the Brown's gas, and this is universal. There's lots of people been reporting both of those things. It's not just me. So I show pictures of where my scars were. For example, the one on my forehead, which I was doing an idiot thing with a socket air gun. Yeah. It turns out you shouldn't use regular sockets. You should use air gun sockets on an air gun because the regular sockets will fly off at high speed and dent your skull and throw blood all over the place. Okay. So stem cell treatments. There's athletes that are spending $100,000 for stem cell treatments, but you can do it yourself by reactivating your own stem cells. And I think stem cells plummet over years because of lack of hydrogen and energy. So here's curing cancer. Now this is a melanoma on this particular fellow's head, similar to the one I told you about in 1996, only we got pictures of this particular one. It happened to be redone in Germany. The guy put a shower cap over his head, and they put the Brown's gas as a gas up there instead of bubbling the water and putting it on. And in 3 weeks' time, it was mostly gone. They gave him a machine, went home. I haven't heard anything since, but I'm assuming that the whole thing cleared right up. So here's an interesting one where this person had a stage 4 ovarian cancer. And that's got to be one of the scariest things for a woman to have. And her cancer antigen number at that time was 6, and anything under 35 is normal. So she had like it was 125 or something. I forget exactly what she said. I should have written it down. I'm sorry. but it was stage 4, way up there, and with the Brown's gas pretty much only, it brought it down to there. So now she's using it between 12 and 14 hours a day and says it's been a godsend. As far as being a godsend, here's a report from a fellow in Australia who rents the Brown's gas machines to people. He didn't have one for rental when this man called him and said, begged one to get it for his daughter, 26-year-old daughter, who was given 1,000,001 chance of surviving cancer and had been sent home to die. So only after 5 months of using his own personal, he lent him his own personal machine. And then after 5 months, the woman bought her own machine and got a phone call saying she was 100% cancer-free. And the doctor said it was a miracle. So there's a Center for New Medicine in Irvine, California has been using the Brown's gas, and they didn't tell me they were doing it either. I discovered it by somebody doing some research on the internet and said, hey, isn't this your machine? So they didn't tell me anything about it. They just started using it. I donated some more machines to their facility, and even though they can't give me any specific testimonials, they're still using all those machines. So what is Brown's gas? Technically, I define it as the entire mixture of combustible gas generated from a machine specifically designed to electrolyze, which is splitting water, and not to separate the resulting gases. It's a very important point. So it's simply a trifecta of hydrogen, oxygen, and what we call electrically expanded water, EXW. We were originally calling it another name, but people thought that it sounded funny. So Brown's gas contains 6 different constituents. It contains water vapor. I'll get to a chart on it in just a second. But EXW is a combustible gaseous form of water, H2O, which is also the reason Brown's gas electrolyzers are over unity. Our electrolyzers were producing 130% gas, according to Faraday equations. And of course, that couldn't happen. So and that was back in the early 90s. We were measuring this, and we theorized various ways that this could happen. But it turns out it's not, the electrically expanded water is not part of the Faraday equations. It's a side effect of the electrolysis. So the water was absorbing electrons and turning into a gaseous form of water that was not water vapor or steam. And it is important to learn what Brown's gas is, because then it helps make a higher quality gas. So in Brown's gas, we have water vapor. We do have monatomic oxygen and monatomic hydrogen, which should not exist, but spectrographic analysis shows that it is in the mixture. We have the diatomic oxygen and diatomic hydrogen, which we would expect. And then we also have the electrically expanded water, which I show with elongated bonds because of the extra energy that it is. So when you look at mass spectroscopy, in this case it's a wet gas, so it has a lot of the water moisture in there as well. We see that's what the chart looks like. And the electrically expanded water looks like water vapor because it is water, H2O. So right in that part, you've got it. So we dry the gas. And when you dried the gas, you could see the little, just to the left of the long hydrogen peak, you could see the little spot of monatomic hydrogen, for example. And then you could still see the peaks, smaller obviously, of the water vapor, but now it's a dry gas, so you haven't got liquid water in there, water moisture. So that's the electrically expanded water. So the electrically expanded water is still there when you dry the gas. These are just various ways that we're determining, and we're still trying to figure out ways of measuring the actual volume of electrically expanded water in the gas. At this point, we're looking at about 30% in our electrolyzers. So why is pure hydrogen then obsolete? Because here it is, it's just being put out on the market, it's just being promoted, and it's one of those things that like fluorescents, the compact fluorescents were being promoted, but I went directly to LEDs because even though they were a lot more expensive at the time, I preferred saving 6 times in energy rather than 3 times in energy. Similar thing here with the hydrogen. The hydrogen's good, the Brown's gas is better. I don't have time to waste in this life, I just go to the best that I can afford. So the Brown's gas, bodies heal themselves when giving the right nutrition, energy, and the bodies already have the intelligence it needs to heal. If bodies get the nutrition and energy they need, they know how to heal themselves. So electrically expanded water is a negatively charged plasma, cold plasma form of water. It's not water vapor or steam. If you cool it, it won't condense. The electrons in the electrically expanded water are pure bioavailable energy for the body. And the energy is what the body also needs to heal. You need those electrons. So there's much accumulating evidence that confirms that Brown's gas is superior to regular, just pure hydrogen. And if some people haven't heard of Brown's gas, there's a lot of other names for Brown's gas as well that I list on this particular slide. So this was the first experiment that I saw Brown's gas being produced. The electrolyzers were coming in at 130% Faraday, and everything I'm telling you about now has evolved from that simple observation, that the hydrogen was being produced on the cathode, and the oxygen was being produced on the anode, and right in the middle, and I'll go back so you can see the line of bubbles as well, the electrically expanded water was being formed right in the middle. And it's very important that there's no membrane in the middle. I'll get back to that in just a second. So you can see right in the middle there, that line of bubbles, it's almost enough, you can see it's almost like another plate. That line of bubbles is the electrically expanded water that's being formed. Okay. Another misconception out there, a major misconception, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of misplaced greed, I guess is the best way to say it, because people who are selling pure hydrogen machines often then mix, when they're splitting the water, they have the oxygen, they have the hydrogen, they put them back together in a stoichiometric mixture, and they call it Brown's gas. It's not Brown's gas. If there was a membrane in the middle, they didn't get the electrically expanded water, and it's not Brown's gas. So the electrically expanded water is water that's absorbed those extra electrons like a sponge soaks up water and turned the water into a negatively charged cold plasma, which I call H2O negative. So it's created via an electron bridge, which I didn't know until October of 2019, just before the pandemic. There was a Chinese speaker at a water conference that I was speaking at in Bad Soden, Germany, and he spoke just before me, and it was amazing, because he described the mechanism that made the electrically expanded water with this electron bridge. He didn't know about electrically expanded water, he just knew his experiments showed this electron bridge in an electrolyzer. So the water soaks up those electrons with that electron bridge, and if you have a membrane in there, you can't have the electron bridge. So that's why you don't get the electrically expanded water. So no electrolyzer with a membrane can make electrically expanded water, so you can't make Brown's gas. All right. And I kind of go on about it. And so the electrically expanded water is the constituent in Brown's gas that makes the difference between pure hydrogen, or what they know as oxyhydrogen. So places like Wikipedia want to put Brown's gas in the oxyhydrogen category, and they absolutely refuse to accept any proof that Brown's gas is different than oxyhydrogen. That proof is taken down in seconds by their editors. So much for Wikipedia being, contributor edited. It's not. It's as woke as any of these other places out there, unfortunately. So there's 4 states, and this is very important. Okay, so there's something called EZ water out there, or by Professor Gerald Pollack. And nothing against Jerry. I know him personally. I admire the man. You'll see why in just a second. But there's 4 states of matter. You've got your solid, your liquid, your gas, and your plasma. It's important to keep those in mind. The electrically expanded water is a negatively charged plasma form of water, so H2O negative, but it's not water vapor or steam. Professor Pollack wrote a book called The Fourth Phase of Water, which is kind of misnomer, and it's caused a lot of confusion, because the book describes how water spontaneously forms an exclusion zone, EZ zone, on the surface of hydrophilic materials, or hydrophilic is water-loving materials. This is extremely important for health. So although the exclusion zone substance is formed from water, it isn't water and isn't a phase of water. Exclusion zone area is H3O2 negative, not H2O. And it's a gel, not a liquid. And it's certainly not a plasma. So H3O2 negative is not H2O, so it's not water. That cleared up. Electrically expanded water is water in a plasma form, H2O. So is water's actual fourth phase. But the EZ gel is probably one of the most important discoveries of humankind. And Professor Pollack really deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for this. And they will not give it to him. He's being suppressed as well. So the fourth phase of water in his book, if you read it, it has a whole bunch of different potentials, like desalination of water and energy generation. You can actually make self-charging water batteries. And we'll examine some of the biological ramifications of his discovery. So there's three medical mysteries. How is it possible to stuff red blood cells into capillaries half their size? Why does it just not plug them up like a cork? And fluids in hydrodynamics will always take the path of least resistance. So how do we get equal blood flow to the top of our head, to the tips of our fingers and toes? And number three, it's also scientifically proven that the heart cannot produce enough pressure to push our blood through all the hundreds of thousands of miles of capillaries in our body. So mystery number one was solved with the EZ gel, because the EZ gel is negatively charged and it's a gel, it's very slippery. And because it's negatively charged, and everything in our body is hydrophilic, to speak of. So this gel forms on the inside of all the capillaries, veins, and arteries, and the outside of all the red blood cells, and everything else is floating around in the blood pretty much. And so therefore, when the red blood cell comes to the capillary, it can squeeze down and go through with virtually zero resistance. It doesn't plug it up like a cork. Further, since it has a negative charge, those negative charges are repelling. You've got your gel form and you've got the charge, so the friction is reduced to almost nothing. Okay, so that's why they can deform and go through. But there was an additional thing which solves medical mysteries 2 and 3. When EZ gel coats the entire inside of a capillary tube, a tube so small that it's smaller than a red blood cell, the fluids will spontaneously start to flow. This is like the discovery of fire. This is absolutely vital, and why life can exist, why our bodies can even work, why trees can take water up from their roots and into their leaves, why everything that's alive that we know is alive can exist. Because fluid spontaneously starts to flow when you get a capillary that small. Okay? And of course, it has to do with the water. With only radiant heat input. If you put in more radiant energy, the EZ gel layer expands. Okay. So EZ gel is the actual reason that blood flows in our bodies and is evenly distributed. Because all the heart has to do is get the blood to the capillaries, and then the capillaries do the actual pumping. Our body is mostly the pump. So further experiments proved that adding pure hydrogen and or oxygen to water doesn't affect the formation of EZ gel. Now, at this same conference I was telling you about in Bad Soden, Professor Pollack was in the front row there, and he stood up and he says, look, I know when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, he said, but how does Brown's gas affect the EZ? So I said, I don't know. Let's find out. And so I over the time of COVID, I was working with the University of Washington and Professor Pollack to do the experiments that found these particular things here. If you add hydrogen to water, it doesn't affect the EZ gel. You add oxygen to water, doesn't affect the EZ gel. Oxygen and hydrogen to water doesn't affect the EZ gel. But, as you can imagine, when you add Brown's gas to the water, it significantly increases the formation of the EZ gel. So, as I said before, infrared heat also does that, so it's a good companion. So the minimum it increased was 3 times. 3 times, not 3%, 300%. And interestingly enough, over time, the EZ gel increases thousands of times. So here's one of the jars that I never washed. And anyone who is using our machines will note the slipperiness on the inside of the jar. That's not lye. That's the EZ gel. It's probably one of the most healthful substances on the planet. Every one of our cells is plumped up with EZ gel. All our veins, arteries, capillaries, everything has to do with the EZ gel in our body. So this forms on the inside of any any hydrophilic surface that's in contact with water. So in this case, you can actually see it without an electron microscope. You can see it going along there. Okay, so nothing makes structured water like Brown's gas does. Now, I didn't know what structured water was when people were starting to talk about structured water, but then it became evident that they were talking about easy gel. And you can actually see little in the Brown's gas bubbler for bubbled water, you can sometimes see the little floaties floating in the water even. So the structured water, this enhances it like nothing else does. There's a lot of ways of making structured water, and Brown's gas is one of the best. So then electrically expanded water and ORP. The oxygen reduction potential of water is one way that people are measuring the healthfulness of water, and adding electrons to pure water makes the water negatively charged, which increases the oxygen reduction potential. So they're measuring the negative charge in the water. So those electrons are bioavailable and provide energy necessary for healing. A positive ORP is actually electron deficient and sucks energy from your body when you drink it to neutralize that. So here we compared Brown's gas in water at 500 milliliters per minute compared to pure hydrogen machine, medically certified, by the way, that was producing 3,000 milliliters per minute of oxyhydrogen. And the top line there is the 3,000 milliliters per minute, and you can see while the ORP did increase, or in this case decrease, any decrease is better, it didn't decrease as far as the Brown's gas did, and if you were doing the full 500, the Brown's gas did it even faster than, like you do the full 100% of the machine. It did it even faster. Okay, so additional advantages to ingesting the bioavailable electrons via the electrically expanded water is it stops oxidative cascade in your body and cytokine storms. It also helps the healing of oxidative damage, even radiation damage, that kind of thing. It provides the energy necessary to apply the hydrogen to heal. See, hydrogen itself is nutrition. It's a food, and it's neutral. Just like a pile of bricks, if you leave it there, you aren't going to come back in a while and expect to see a brick house. You need energy and intelligence to move those bricks into making a brick house. And so the hydrogen itself is like the bricks, and you need to provide the energy and intelligence to make it happen. Also, these electrons are needed for cognitive function. If you, oh man, just even here at the TeslaTech a couple of years ago when I was here, there was a fellow that came up to, and his father came up to sit down and get a treatment, and the old man was almost zombie-like, just kind of shuffling along. And when he sat down and they put the cannulas on him and we were just shooting the breeze, he started to join the conversation, and within 15 minutes, the man was cracking jokes. He was incredible. And it was just the gas. It allowed his brain to start working. I wish I had a video of that. It was absolutely fantastic. Electrically expanded water is the reason the Brown's gas is proving to be about 30% more therapeutically effective compared to pure hydrogen. And there's a few Brown's gas testimonials at that link. I am trying to find the time to get somebody to put up the thousands of testimonials that we have. There's various links that you can refer to in here. Okay, so the competition out there of pure hydrogen says things like there's lye in the gas or hexavalent chromium. So I took the gas mixtures to various laboratories and had them measure it, and there is no lye in the gas or hexavalent chromium or anything like that. Just because there's lye in the machine doesn't mean that there's going to be lye in the Brown's gas. The gas that comes out is pure, except for micro droplets, humidity, that can carry a tiny amount of lye, and those are trapped in the humidifier that we put on the side of the machine. So the gas comes out is pure. So the AquaCure AC50 is the world's safest Brown's gas technology. I work really hard to make sure of that. And if used correctly, there's zero lye or any other impurity in the gas. And there's a link to is lye safe there. So we've done extensive, multiple, and comprehensive tests on Brown's gas over years of time, and find it's a pure combinations of hydrogen and oxygen and nothing else. And it's those combinations those 6 constituents I was talking about before. And look at me. I've been inhaling Brown's gas for about 8 hours a day on average since March of 2016. And I'm okay. There's no Biden here. So the hydrogen is a superior antioxidant also because it's tiny and selective. It gets rid of the bad free radicals without getting rid of the good ones. Oxides of nitrogen, nitrous oxides, that help us, the cardiovascular system helps us men do our proper job. And instead of getting rid of all of them like a lot of the other antioxidants do. Okay, so pure hydrogen alone is not an optimized free radical eliminator because it's electrically neutral and doesn't have the free extra electrons. So the oxidative stress occurs when oxygen molecules split into single atoms with unpaired electrons, and the atoms that are electron deficient will grab electrons from nearly anything, causing oxidation, which then leads to oxidative cascade, but it's literally burning the inside of you, oxidating. So electrically expanded water is electron rich and gives those electrons or gives those molecules what they need, the electrons they need to stop all of that. So hydrogen is a building block of life. Electrically expanded water is the energy needed by the body for healing and regeneration. And you can look online and see that there's a lot of ailments that they say the root cause is reactive oxidative species, and I say it's simply a lack of hydrogen and electrons. So in 2003, I looked like this, and now I look like this. I work a minimum of 12 hours a day. I'm 65, stronger than I was when I was 45. And people that haven't seen me in a while say I haven't aged in 20 years. How about that? So Brown's gas for health. Here's a legacy blog. Hydrogen is nutrition. It helps. And our bodies know how to heal when given what they need, given the nutrition and energy that they need. So we now understand that nearly every ailment known to man is caused by hydrogen deficiency. And Brown's gas provides all of that is necessary. So when choosing what to inhale, like pure hydrogen or Brown's gas, for example, think about your electrically expanded water, your ORP, and your pH. Now, the potential of hydrogen, when you're bubbling hydrogen in water, the pH is essentially neutral. So putting more hydrogen in water does not raise pH. So when you put the Brown's gas in the water, you are going to get a slight rise because of the extra electrons, but you aren't going to get the alkaline water. So don't think that the alkaline water is necessary when you're bubbling. Alkalinity is necessary. We offer the satisfaction guarantee. So when you're choosing technologies out there, just how much of a guarantee do they offer? Are they interested in your health or their wealth? So the manufacturer's warranty. When you buy a new AquaCure AC50 from us, we have a lifetime manufacturer's warranty. If anything fails at any time during your lifetime and you're using the machine, we will fix it if it's a manufacturer error. So, do they tell you the things you need to know to be safe? Do they tell you, for example, that you have to keep the hydrogen in your inhaled breath under 4%? Or do they just tell you what you need that will cause you to buy? It's true, if you inhale hydrogen over 4%, you'll feel even better. But it's not safe. And it's not any more therapeutically efficacious either. It's important to know that more is not better. Longer is better. That's what we've been proving. In these people that were mitigating their cancer, it was the hours that they kept their blood saturated with the hydrogen and the electrically expanded water. It wasn't that they took more for a shorter period of time, they took less for a longer period of time. So, this is very important for me because my new wife said in 2017, no woman is going to want that science experiment in her home. And that is actually what made the difference between my being just an inventor in his garage and essentially a worldwide phenomenon. One observation from my wife. So I made the model EAH160 that which essentially I took a Chinese electrolyzer that was in my shop And I thought I was out of business because these people were building essentially the water torches, because this fuels a microtorch. They were retailing it for less than the cost of materials for me to buy it or to build it in North America. So I thought I was out of business when I saw this kind of thing being sold on eBay. However, when my wife said that, I went back into my shop and I took this thing out and I examined it and I thought, you know what? This is not bad. It's about 1996 technology as far as I'm concerned, but it does the job. And it's inexpensive. So I can build something that I can sell for $2,500 instead of $5,000. So I can inexpensively meet performance standards because I met every worldwide safety standard using this particular machine and meet my wife's aesthetic standards. But we continued to improve it. Now I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. This was the original things that we were saying as far as the gas is concerned, and what the model EAH160 AquaCure could do. And in 2003, you can see we've continued to improve the machine. We made it look better and function better inside. Now, note that I just don't use the electrolyzer like a lot of Me Too's out there. They look at this machine, they see what I did, and they're making machines that are going to hurt somebody. They're doing the bare minimum to make gas that people can inhale and not get lye in their lungs or whatever. The bare minimum. We take the machine entirely apart. We throw away components. We add hundreds of dollars in components. We reconfigure the electrical systems and everything. It takes about 8 hours, man-hours of work to reconfigure into this, even in our assembly line type situation. So these machines are better than anything you're going to see out there as far as all that is concerned. So these are a list of the kind of things that we did to make the machine more user-friendly, more reliable, all the things inside the Model AC50. And we really haven't made much changes in the last 2 years. There are some slight modifications, but nothing significant. We came up with a pretty good design, and we're just getting it out there to as many people as possible. So trying to go through this fairly quickly because I have some other things to say. Okay, so what we do to healing of the Brown's gas is we're drinking the Brown's gas bubbled water. Now, in addition to drinking the bubbled water, you can put the water on your skin and you can inhale. Okay, so we'll inhale the Brown's gas. And also, it's a good idea to start slow. Some people just start inhaling the 8 hours a day. Some people can't inhale for more than a minute. And this is really rare, but it's happened, and I'm letting you know, and they get a headache, for example. They've inhaled the gas, which is a totally healthful gas. There's nothing in the gas that shouldn't already be in the person's body, but they get a headache in less than a minute. So what I tell these people is that you have something your body is trying to heal in your head. Healing is not necessarily comfortable. So cut back by halves until you can deal with whatever's going on, and then as your body heals, you'll be able to do more and more until you can do like I do, and you can inhale 24/7 if you want. So you can also apply the Brown's gas bubbled water externally, and recently I just remembered that you could actually bubble the water and not only put it on a dressing, but you could put it in swimming goggles and you could treat your eyes with the bubbled water as well. Because the goggles not only keep water out, they'll keep water in. So applying the Brown's gas externally, like if you put a bag on your arm and put the gas itself in there, that's one way that people are mitigating things like rashes and arthritis and things like that. So also be consistent and have patience. It's nutrition, it's not drugs, it's not surgery. It doesn't happen overnight. So we're also developing deuterium depleted water and new water. And a very interesting thing about the deuterium depleted water that we've discovered, and I'm just going through these fairly quickly, what we've kind of accomplished, and our goal is to put hydrogen, at least hydrogen, in every home. So the first thing we're doing with is developing a micro-bubbling system which will allow a lot more of the hydrogen to stay in the water, like a fog, a water fog. And then because we've determined that the Brown's gas in water has proven therapeutic efficacy, and they're using it in Asian countries in spas and things like that. So the microbubbles will help that, and also for plant growth and fish and things like that. It gets more of the Brown's gas to the plant. So the deuterium depleted water, as I was saying before, all of these apparatuses that I'm talking about can be put on any AquaCure that's ever been purchased by us. We built these potentials into every single machine, and even if you're not using that functionality now, you'll be able to add the apparatus and use it. So the deuterium depleted water, when you condense the gas, the steam that comes off of a Brown's gas flame, it is naturally deuterium depleted. Okay, it's naturally light water. It doesn't have any deuterium in it. But you have to be careful when you're condensing it for various reasons that I'll get into. But interestingly enough, you'll need the torch kit to do that. So we send a torch kit with everyone. And all AquaCures are designed to safely fuel a microtorch. So we sent a sample of the deuterium depleted water to Simple Labs, and they came back with, the sample shows extremely depleted results with very high standard deviation. The laboratory does not have a standard that's depleted. So look, they can't verify the accuracy of the results. You can make your own deuterium depleted water, which in a bottle this size, if it was as depleted as we're talking, is like $150 a bottle. You can make a bottle this size every day with the AquaCure in your own home. And if you look into the deuterium depleted water and all of the health benefits of that, I don't have time to go into it now. You'll see it's a very good thing to have. So also making new water. New water has no memory and can be programmed to do various things. I'm going to have to go a lot faster because I'm down to my last 10 minutes here. So it vastly enhances homeopathic remedies. New water can be used as fuel, medicines, food. New water can transmute into elements like gold. We've already been doing things like that. In fact, the AquaCure does it in its own self. That sludge that you have to keep cleaning out, that is transmuted water. So you also need a torch kit for that. So ways of making money with the AquaCure. The first is our affiliate program. So if you get a hold of us, we can help you out with that. We're also developing a program to help people buy multiple AquaCures at a lower cost for rental, so that then a lot more people can have them, because a lot of people can't afford the $2,500, which unfortunately is soon going to have to go to $3,000 because we just happen to, the cost of everything just keeps going up. So we have a 1-year satisfaction guarantee, a lifetime warranty. It's a no-brainer for people to try it out. It literally sells itself. As soon as somebody tries it, they tell their friends and family, and that's how we sell most of our machines. So we cannot guarantee results legally or practically, but we do have the 100% satisfaction guarantee, and the Eagle code gives you a 5% discount on a new AquaCure AC50. So it also gives a free handle kit and a free torch kit. You'll get a free torch kit when you're using the Eagle code. So over years of use, the AquaCure AC50 has proven to be reliable, safe, and effective, and you can buy it via aquacure.life. Okay? So just write down that particular one. You'll see a lot of this information there already. And so please, help us, help you get and stay healthy. Thank you.